Hello guys, this is Kazar bringing you something new this time. We're looking at Euro Truck Simulator 2 with the latest patch and the expansion going east. This is my profile that I had to make after... Well, I had almost a level 30 profile, but unfortunately it went down because of certain, mods that weren't compatible. So I'm gonna basically do a small series of me driving around in the Volvo, and I'm gonna see how popular it will get. This is my truck, the Volvo FH16, a lovely truck, 460 horsepower, enough. And I even started the game in a city that's 60 kilometers away from me, so everything's working perfectly. So let's go to the freight market and check what we can get. If you're wondering what I'm using for controlling my truck, it's a joypad. Logitech Rumble Pad 2. So you have Dresden, Krakow, Dresden. Small gain for that kind of trip. I would take this, but I doubt that I can be there in time to pick up the truck. Offer expires in 5 minutes. Tomatoes! To Łódź. Diggers to Krakow. Meat. Yeah, let's take the meat. 1 hour. Explanation date, yep, it's good enough. I also want to start the Euro Truck series cause it's way easier for me to do anything. You can see I use one of the analog knobs to look around, and the second one is my driving and acceleration. But let's take a look at this lovely interior. It's not the luxury one, it's the normal one, and it's so packed with things. I just love the interior of this truck. It looks so nice. Then we have the co-driver seat. Look at this seat, how marvelously it looks. And that dashboard, everything's on the dashboard. But let's start the truck. And I want to start Euro Truck series cause I was thinking about it for a long time, and honestly, beautiful, look. The best thing about it is that actually I get a lot of time to speak to you guys. Cause as we all know, driving a truck isn't that hard. Unless you're doing it like I do. And you're gonna notice I try to drive a truck like you should. I honestly, if I would have a truck AR, I wouldn't use the side mirror because it just takes too long with the knob to look around, when I have to suddenly check. It's another thing to take care of, to think about, and I try to have the least amount of things to worry. So yeah, I want to start this little series to have some time to talk to you guys, to, have a series when I can respond to the comments and stuff like that, but I don't get a lot of comments, but maybe at some time we will. I'm doing this very early in the morning, so if I will start yawning, excuse me please. I just ate breakfast, I'm drinking some magnesium, and yeah. And I love how this game develops actually. Some time ago, you wouldn't see that lady going around. There were no pedestrians in the game. And some of you are maybe wondering why I'm using a joypad instead of a keyboard and mouse. Honestly, bigger comfort and easier time actually adjusting the amount of power. Like right now, I left the power out, but I can push it just a tiny bit and I won't go full rev range. Like on a keyboard you would go like this. And that's, unacceptable. Because not a lot of you guys may know how to actually drive a truck. I'm not a certified truck driver, but I know my fair share of how to do how to drive it. I am gonna be doing the qualifications and certificates for us truck driver at some point in my life. Basically, the job that I'm gonna get now is gonna be the job that's gonna pay for the certificates. I'm gonna, you know, put my money away and start doing the courses and everything to be a certified truck driver. I don't know if that's gonna be my career. I doubt it. But it's just something like I had a choice between a truck driver and a tank driver when I was going to the military. I got basically a choice. They asked me, do you want to drive a truck or do you prefer to drive a tank? And I said like, fuck yeah, tank. It was an obvious choice for me back then. But now, like looking from perspective, you know, I could have taken the truck. At least I would have I would have the driver's license already. And now I have to pay for it myself. But I wouldn't get any certificates. Like, if you guys don't know what certificates are, it's like ADRs, HDRs. Those are certificates that qualify you for traveling with dangerous materials or humans or other livestock. So basically you gotta have those to drive around a truck as a professional driver. As for those episodes that we are going to have with Euro Truck Simulator, we'll see how they go, but I'm guessing they will be around 20 to 25 minutes long. I don't know how long this one will be because I actually didn't look at the clock. Stupid, foolish me. And as for like that, I said that not a lot of you guys know how to actually drive around with a truck. And that's true, like, if you look on the dashboard, you can see we have the speedometer, the amount of kilometers traveled. I forgot that those shitheads do that. And you can see the revs down below. It's 5, 10, 20 and 25. Basically you multiply that by 100, because this is a diesel engine, as all truck engines are diesel engines. So basically what you get right now is, at the moment we're at around 1300 revs. But what a lot of people think, like when you play car games, is like maximum thrust all the time. You shift gears at 6000 revs. With a truck it's not like that. Especially in Euro Truck Simulator, where they start to get around simulating the amount of fuel that you use, and that it takes up a little chunk of your economy. Because imagine tanking something like this, and when you own your own truck you have to repair it and you have to tank it yourself, so you have to pay quite a feastly amount of money. Like, look at the right side where you have that 1123 and 3843. The first number, the 1100, is actually the amount of fuel that I have in my tanks. This truck can go up to 1200 liters of fuel. It's astonishing. For comparison, a normal car has like 50 liters. This means that this truck would be able to go around 30 kilometers on a full tank of a normal car. But with its own tank, it goes 3832 kilometers with a full tank. Almost 4000 kilometers. But that's including all of the skills for conserving of fuel. So it's not like I'm gonna have that. From time to time you're gonna hear that weird sound. I'm not actually using the brake at the moment. I'm using something other called a jet brake. Parking, and let's go. Take the job. Ah, it's quite early. And I love the little animations, like look at the here at the see, parking brake, parking brake. It's just awesome how they animate everything in the cockpit per se. But yeah, like I said, mostly diesels are selected for trucks because of the high torque. They have a lot of power, a lot more power than gasoline engines. And like gasoline engines are good when you... I knew I was driving. And this is the hardest part of doing this on a joystick. Because as you can imagine, it takes some time for me to spin the wheel, per se. There's our load, and let's go. But diesels give you the option of having a very high torque on low revs range, and actually they are more economic than gasoline engines, so an obvious choice. Like most of you play World of Tanks, so you know how that most of the tanks in World War II were actually diesel engined. There were of course countries that used gasoline engines, but you know, you do what you can. And look at the mileage, how it went down after selecting this truck. So when the engine is on load, it went down by almost 1,000 kilometers. And that's what you were hearing was basically the braking from the engine. Because in a truck you have 3 different types of brakes. One of them is the normal paddle brake, like in a car. Mind you, everything in a truck is fueled by air. Everything is by compressed air, so your clippers are by compressed air and stuff like that. The second type of braking is actually jet braking, which is engine braking. Which, to explain it very simply, is basically interrupting the full cycle of a 4-stroke engine, that you don't get the full compression amount on the cylinder, which basically neglects your power and acts like you would down rev. If you would put 1 gear down, that's exactly what jet braking is. And you have the third type of brakes, which are basically, it's not even a brake, it's a reductor? No, it's retarder. It's a device planted in your gearbox. You have to buy a gearbox with a retarder that actually allows you to, like, if you pay attention to my steering wheel, on the right side you have a handle like for lights. You would think those are the windshield wipers. That's the reductor. And I'm not using the brake, and look what's happening. It's basically like neglecting the amount of torque that you're putting in your gearbox, so it's also it's the preferred and most of the time the only way truck drivers, when they're going downslope, to not use the normal brakes, to not overheat them and to not lose pressure in the air system, because that's a huge concern actually. You have the whole bit of this. I'm seriously waiting for the next patch, because the next patch will give us improved AI. Because the AI is quite stupid in this game. So yeah, when you're going downslope, retarder braking is actually the preferred method of braking, because it's just a hard stop on your gearbox, not something that has effect on your overall performance of the car, you know. It's just that the gearbox doesn't put out all of the power, and actually is like downscaling your power. And going back to the topic of the engines, because this is gonna be mostly about trucks, and I think the second episode will also be about trucks, because it takes around 5 to 6 episodes of something for you guys to start kicking in and with doing something. like liking and commenting on the videos. But I think that's mostly because most of you guys know me from my live streams, and you guys can come to the live stream, talk to myself. You don't have to do any video YouTube stuff, especially with Google Plus. So I think that's the reason. You also have cruise control, as you know, as you would predict in a truck. I actually didn't have to do that. Whoa, I cut him out. That's your fault for speeding. I didn't have to do that. Most of the time you have only one line on a bridge like this, and you have to change it to the left line to go through it. But not this time. Force feedback kicking in. But as diesel engines goes, it's like a lot of people don't know that honestly the way we drive cars, most of the people drive cars, is non-economic and it's quite actually stupid, especially when going high revs. Young drivers have that tendency, I know because I did it myself, that if you have a high rev engine then you go to the full degree of revs, you know, you start off, you drive around on 2000 normally, but you go up to 6000 between changing gears. And that's actually stupid, because your engine has a specified moment when it's reaching the top power that it has. And in the terms of this Volvo truck, for instance, it's between 1000 to 1400 torque revs. That's the maximum torque for this truck. Anything above it, so anything above 1400 is a waste of fuel. Because the engine goes faster, but it's not producing more power, it's actually losing power. So it's better for you to actually change the gear higher than go and actually try to walk with what you got. And that's why you have 12, and I put a high emphasis on this, 12 gears. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, you can see on the dashboard there's a little sign saying 11. Right now it's 12. Those are gears. A truck has 12 gears. It can have up to 16 gears, and it depends on whatever you have. Basically, you know, there's automatic gears and stuff like that, automatic gearboxes, but most of the time what it draws to is, do you have quads, I think it's called. It's basically like gears between gears. That instead of having normal gear ratios, you have gears between gears and gears between those gears. It's only used when you are going on a upper slope and you have problems with putting out enough power, then you downscale by 1 gear. Normally, like, if you notice how I gear up or down, I go by the 2s, excepting with the exception of 11 and 12 gear, because that's basically a very small difference, and I find that 11 gear is better than 12. If I'm not putting out enough power, like now I didn't put any power at all, and what a bastard. But we gotta keep up the speed. So basically, like, what do you want to do with a truck is like this: 1400, rev up. Down rev, only when you go above 1400, or if you don't want to engine brake. Because actually downgrading your gears and using the engine brake is a good idea. It makes you slow down quite significantly. Now we are overspeeding quite heavily, so let's ease up on the throttle. And I'm guessing, like, not a lot of you guys will be at this moment, because we're gonna be closing this video in a short while. And I doubt that people will watch 20 minutes of Euro Truck Simulator. Not a lot of people are like me. Because I actually wanted to say something, but I think I'm gonna actually start a bigger conversation next time. Like, why I play this game. A lot of people ask me this question: why would you play a truck simulator? A game that you drive around in trucks and do nothing else. Honestly, it's hard to understand for someone who doesn't see the attractive value of it. And I think that is mostly because a lot of people, like I have an inner child in myself, like most guys do, and we love driving around big things. The bigger the better. I have two normal cars. I drive around in a tank, but I still want to drive around in a truck. I always wanted to be a truck driver. It's like my little dream that I never got around to do. And because the specifics of the job, I don't know if I would want to do it as a, you know, way to live. But yeah, it's something that I always wanted to do, and playing Euro Truck Simulator is actually very calm. Streaming it is quite intense, cause the amount of things that I suddenly have to pay attention to is increasing, cause I have to look away from the screen to look on my other screen to see the chat. And I found it very difficult. Because I suddenly started bumping into things and stuff like that. While doing YouTube videos, I'm just sitting here talking to myself while playing Euro Truck Simulator, so you know, schizophrenia or something like that, perfectly good reason to play Euro Trucks. You can at least talk to yourself and do YouTube videos at the same time. Okay? We are perfectly fine. But going back to the topic, a lot of people just don't understand the glory behind it. But it's like, why are you playing a game that simulates tanks? Because you can destroy things and you drive around in a tank. Why you play a plane simulator? Because you can fly a plane. Simple. We want to do something that in real life we are not capable of. The Euro Truck Simulator gives us the ability to drive around in a truck, as inaccurate as it is, but still is the best thing that is out on the market, and I have to give it my sincere thanks for giving me the ability to play this. Because I played truck games since the times of Hard Track 2, meaning the 90s? Something around that. Basically when I started out with PC gaming, I found a game called Hard Truck and I thought it's a great idea to drive around with a truck. And then I went into 18 Wheels of Steel. I have like 6 or 7 games from that series. And now Euro Truck, that I bought some time ago for like cheapskate money. I'm using promotions in Poland to actually... Whoa! Somehow we managed. Sorry for that, I dubbed out. I'm using promotions in Poland to buy games. Because like promotions for you guys, 70% off, you pay only $7. For you it's nothing. For me it's still quite substantial if you count it towards my currency. But there are promotions, like I bought Borderlands 2, the Game of the Year edition, which normally costs around 40 euros for 30 zlotys, which is 5 euros. 6. So yeah, I almost paid nothing for that. This video is gonna be longer. If I have only 11 minutes to Dresden, we're gonna do the whole trip in one go. But later on I'm gonna have way longer trips, like 2,000 kilometer trips. And on those trips we're actually gonna talk a lot more. We're gonna have a lot more time to talk. We're gonna do whole series. Like it's gonna be episode 1, 2, 3 of a given adventure, like going with with my truck somewhere. But I want to know your guys' opinion. Like, what do you think is... what would draw your attention to a game like this? To Euro Truck Simulator? What would be the thing that you would like? Would you even try it? Cause you could give it get it for cheap money. You can get, with an expansion you can buy it for 5 euros. It's that cheap now. The game is developing all the time. It's increasing the content size. Also, not a lot of people know, but there's actually a project of War of Trucks, by the developer SCS. So the guys that do... Oh shit, not this button. I sometimes mistake the buttons, and instead of, you know, putting the parking brake on, I go and shut off my engine. I watched a video of one guy that actually did that every single step, like right now, and he would shut off the engine and wait for the lights to come in. As economics go, I think it's a good idea, but then again, launching it's just exhausting for the engine. The engine should be such a short break isn't that good for the engine, you know. If it was a longer break, then yeah, sure. But a break that takes like 2 minutes, I don't think it's that good for the engine. And it took me a lot of time to actually learn how to drive with this. Like, where are the borders of the truck? Where I should start, you know, slowing down. Of course, he just has to wait for fucking 5 minutes. I hate the AI in this game. So was a very short trip from Breslau to Dresden. Breslau actually is the name of, in the German name of the city. It's in Polish it's Wrocław. So it's like Wroclaw or something like that. Wroclaw. I don't even know how it's pronounced in English. Oh, don't cut the corner. You have to take into account that if you cut a corner, you're gonna have a bad time. This is amazingly easy parking, and I'm certain that I'm now gonna dip around for 5 minutes, because I said it, that it's easy. Well, this is unfortunate. Actually, I had like 2 or 3 minutes more of me parking and getting a level, but unfortunately the Fraps footage cut short because I didn't have enough room on my hard drive. So yeah, that sucks. This video was long enough, so thank you guys for coming, and I hope you had a good time.